All right, just sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, August the 10th, 2022. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Howdy, folks.
Hello, guys and gals.
How the hell?
And everyone in between.
And everyone in between them, right, exactly.
How outside of them or beyond them. Or
before them, after them, doesn't matter, yeah. Everybody. All inclusive. All right. How are you two fine gentlemen on this fine August evening?
I watched the Yankees, so I'm in a bad mood. But, you
Gotcha.
know, other than that, I'm all right.
Gotcha.
It's understandable.
It is understandable. It's very understandable. And you know, I feel bad. I do, in a way. Kind of sort of. Well, no, actually, I kind of do. No, not really. But no, I actually do. It would be, you know, here's the thing, right? Yes, of course, I'm going to root for the Mets before I'm going to root for the Yankees, right? But, you know, I want the Mets to beat the Yankees, but I don't want the Mets to beat the Yankees where the Yankees have an excuse. You know what I mean? I want them to beat the Yankees when the Yankees don't have an excuse. And the best team should win. And if the Yankees happen to be the best team in that game, so be it. But, you know what I'm saying? You follow my logic to some degree?
The Yankees are not, unless something miraculous happens, the Yankees are not getting close to the World Series. Not getting close to the World Series. And look, I'm a Yankees fan. But they know they are uncommitted to winning this year. They're uncommitted. And the trade deadline proved that. They're uncommitted to winning this year, and their injuries are decimating them. But beyond the injuries, they're uncommitted to winning because pitching wins you championships, and the Yankees do not have the pitching required to win a World Series.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess I'd have to agree with that. Especially since, you know, a solid piece of their rotation was traded away at the deadline.
And shut them out.
A
week later. And they've lost twice now to the guy that they couldn't get, who's sitting on the bench in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And the Yankees have an ace who gives up 6 runs in the first inning. Granted, he had a good game last night. But they can't seem to piece it together. You know, Aaron Boone says there's no need, there's no cause for concern. Well, it's a 6-month slump, or 6-week slump they're in. 6 weeks. The Yankees have been miserable for 6 weeks. And their prize possessions that they received at the trade deadline, Andrew Benintendi's hitting 179.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, he can stand upright and play the outfield, so that's a benefit. And the so-called ace, or the guy who was going to be their so-called second in line, got lit up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And wait, what else did they? Oh, they traded away a starter who shut them out. Yeah, I don't know. And the feel-good story of the year in Matt Carpenter is probably out for the remainder of the season. So,
yeah, that's a shame, actually.
And Rizzo's back. You know, Rizzo swung at a pitch today. There's 2 Yankees that know when it's a ball or a strike. There's 2 of them that don't always swing at garbage, and that's DJ LeMahieu and Aaron Judge. And then after that, the lineup is, you know, yeah, Higashioka can smoke a fastball every once in a while over the fence. But when the game's on the line, he's going to pop out or strike out. The amount of strikeouts they have is absolutely mind-boggling. And I've said this before. The teams that can put the ball in play seem to be the teams that win in October.
Mm-hmm.
And teams like the Astros and the Mets and the Dodgers and the Atlanta Braves are geared up to do that. And they all got stronger at the trade deadline, or at least they didn't trade away a starting pitcher.
At least they didn't trade away a starting pitcher, sure.
For another outfielder who's hitting barely over 200. Mm-hmm. So I think age, injuries, and just some of the field, some of the people who have been sort of playing over their heads are coming back down to earth a little bit. Clay Holmes is coming back down, which I was kind of hoping wouldn't be the case. But hey, they'll probably still wind up winning 100 games and hopefully getting a bye from the wild card shenanigans. But I don't see them beating. I don't see them beating anybody in the playoff series. I just don't.
Anybody, not just anybody.
I mean, who are they going to wind up playing? They're not better than Seattle. They can't beat Houston. Look at who the Yankees have played recently. They're playing decent teams and they can't beat them. St. Louis. Yes, granted, they're not going to meet St. Louis in the playoffs unless they go to the World Series against St. Louis. But they can't beat St. Louis. Mm-hmm. So how are they going to beat the Astros?
Fair enough.
Yeah. And I'm not sure. They're going to beat. Even some of the teams in their own division right now. Tampa Bay's starting to play some good ball again. Remember that huge lead? Well, I think it's 8.5 games now.
Mm-hmm.
So
and Tampa Bay's going to get back shortly and getting back, I think, almost on a daily basis, some of the myriad of injuries that they have had. So they should be a better team moving forward as to get some of these guys back. Which
same thing with Toronto.
The Yankees,
Right. They're not. Maybe they get past a first round series. I don't know the divisional series, but they can't beat a good team right now.
Well, here's my question for the room. Why don't the Yankees do something different? I mean,
such as
two words for you.
Not building a team that relies on the home run and doesn't have enough pitching, right? It doesn't work. I know it doesn't work. We all know it doesn't work. Everyone seems to know it doesn't work, but the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So why do they not get it?
Because of Brian Cashman.
Is it just Cashman can't figure out how to do it, or is unwilling to do it? What is the
well? This is the question. We've asked this before. Is he unwilling to do it? Is ownership unwilling to do it? They hold on to these prospects. Look, a great shortstop prospect and a great pitching prospect are going to be absolutely fucking useless when everybody else that's on this team right now that started the year at 60 and 24 or whatever the hell they were, okay, is gone. They're going to be useless. If they were worth their weight, it's not hard to be better than Isaiah Kiner-Falefa if you're a great shortstop prospect for the Yankees, okay? They have to win now. This is the best team, I hate to say it, that they've had in the last number of years since they lost to the Astros because of Aroldis Chapman. Garrett Cole's, if you take an ace on every team that's going to be in the playoffs, Cole's not at the top of that list. He's at the bottom of that list. I would argue that the Yankees' ace right now is Nestor Cortez. And then what else do we have? Who knows? I don't know. James Talon, okay. He had a pretty good outing the other day. Is he that much better than Jordan Montgomery? I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. And yes, they did some things to get to Pete's point. They did some things to get some people into the lineup that can put the bat on the ball and get on base and add some speed and add some defense in the outfield. I hope Benintendi comes around, but he's hitting 179 with the Yankees. 179, 320 hitter when he came over. 179. So
and it's been 2 weeks?
Yeah. Well, a little longer than that.
Yeah.
So
that should be beyond any sort of adjustment period.
Right.
He should be.
And the only other guy that did any sort of damage consistently after Mayhew and Judge was Matt Carpenter, and now he's out.
Yeah.
Now you could say optimistically, if the Yankees make it to blah 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 blah, he might be back. He's not back. He's done for the year. Broke his foot. So it's the things that, that he was the Darryl Strawberry of this year for the Yankees. He was the who was the other outfielder the Yankees got in 98 or 99 when David Justice. He was the David Justice. You know, he was that guy who nobody wanted at the end of his career, who was going to have one last push and have his Wade Boggs moment with the Yankees.
Right.
But it's not going to happen now. And that, you know, these things happen. It's unfortunate. But it just seems like the Yankee season has not made a left turn. It's going backwards. And they can't rely on beating. Now, look, they've got a series come. They just lost. They got swept by St. Louis. They just lost 2 out of 3 to Seattle. And they got a series with Boston now. If they can't turn this around and at least win this series against Boston, then this tells you where the Yankees are at.
So,
and it's
why was it working for the first? We'll go with the 60-24 record. Why was it working for the first 84 games, and over the past 6 weeks, as you say, it's fallen apart?
Three things: level of competition. Okay, meaning
other teams getting better.
Meaning
and playing other teams that they hadn't played yet.
We're playing better teams now, and they had a bunch of games against a struggling Boston and a struggling Toronto, and in the beginning of the year, they beat up on a lot of teams that they should have. That's number one. In conjunction with that, their pitching was outstanding. Now the Yankees pitching is still good, but everything was working for their pitching back then, from starters to middle relievers to a surprise closer. And now they've had injuries. They've lost 2 major pieces to their middle relief. Their starting rotation has taken a crap. Still not horrible, but Clay Holmes is not the next Mariano Rivera. The next Mariano Rivera is in Queens. So this is the problem. So what did in the past the Yankees wouldn't be listening to who's available at the trade deadline. They would go out and find somebody that they want and get them.
Yeah.
But they
focus on them, get them. There was no question they were going to get them. They went out and got them. They wanted them. They got them. End of story.
They didn't do that. And quite honestly, even if they had not gotten Benintendi, or if they didn't get another big bat, if they had gone out and worked a deal for Carlos Rodon or landed Luis Castillo, then I would have been like, all right, we're back. We're back. Mm-hmm. We're back to what the Dodgers are able to do. We're back to what the Astros are able to do. We're back to what the Mets were able to do in the offseason. And we're back to what Atlanta did last year at the trade deadline in order to fabricate a World Series team. Yankees aren't able to do it.
Yeah.
So Benintendi was good, but Benintendi's having a career year. He's never hit over 300 before. And I think his highest average was 286. He's had a couple good years in the postseason, and he's a good glove. Good fit. Yankees need an outfielder. I get it. But it wasn't like they signed Rod Carew in his prime. They got Andrew Benintendi. And that's a good fit because Joey Gallo's gone. So again, sometimes it's not.
Well, Joey Gallo had to be gone.
Well, let's talk about
whether there was Andrew Benintendi or not, Joey Gallo had to be gone.
Joey Gallo, though, was the flaming dumpster that made everybody miss the fact that there's 4 other cars driving on the side of the road with 3 tires. Okay. And that's Aaron Hicks, Josh Donaldson, and this inexplicable desire for Boone to put the Yankees in a position every 3 or 4 days where they don't have their best lineup in there for rest.
Well, he's been doing that for a while, though. And Josh Donaldson actually has been playing a little bit better lately.
He's been playing a little better, but he's not a World Series winning cleanup hitter. And look, what went well? What's his name was healthy. Why do I always forget his fucking name? Because every time I look at him, I think just how much money they wasted on him. Stanton. Stanton was healthy. Stanton hasn't been around for a month. Okay. Rizzo hitting 220, but not driving in some runs, a couple timely hits, playing good first base. Rizzo's hurt. Donaldson, okay, playing decent, hitting, 200, great. We got a shortstop that can catch the ball and throw it to first base, and he's hitting about 250. Fantastic. The resurgence of Gleyber Torres as a 254 hitter. All right, great. The Yankees were able to get the most out of a bottom half of a lineup that is not great. And now it started, now pitchers are seeing them for the third time this season or fourth time this season. And they're unable to work a count.
Yeah.
They wave at things in the dirt. I've never seen a team strike out as much, a Yankees team. It is absolutely miserable.
Yeah. Well,
and other teams are pitching around the people they need to pitch around because they know they're going to get to somebody who they can get to wave at a sinker in the dirt.
Well, hopefully for your sake and the Yankees' sake and Yankees fans' sake, they figure it out and they get healthy quick and get back to their.
We'll see. I don't know.
Get somewhat back to what they were doing. Right?
Rizzo's back in the lineup today. That's a good sign. Struck out waving at a horrible pitch with two men on. We'll see. I have no idea what the future of Giancarlo Stanton is. I hear nothing about his return.
Yeah, it's still going to be a while. It's still.
Who cares right now? Why worry about it right now?
Last I heard, it's still weeks. It's September would probably be.
But
it'd be better if he comes back in September.
Remember the last time Stanton came back too late in the season? I mean, this is the problem with a lot of this. Look, I understand injuries are part of the game, but it feels like they're just so magnified on the Yankees, and I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because they're going out and getting players that are up there in years that the Yankees are keeping on life, support.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that note, there's another team in New York
that they now have a better record than the Yankees.
They seem to be putting it together, knock on wood, piecing it together the right way. I was shocked. I thought last weekend, 5-game series, Thursday, Friday, doubleheader, Saturday, Sunday. I thought they were going to go 3-2 against the Braves, and it shocked me going 4-1. And maybe they could have won that other game on Friday if they had gotten Taijuan Walker out of there right when he, started to give up the farm, so to speak.
Yeah, might have left him in
a little too long.
A little bit too long.
Smidge too long.
However, you can take those kind of risks when you're a team that's playing as well as the Mets.
Right.
You don't want to do it over and over and over again, but
of course,
in that situation, I mean, if he had managed to sort of right the ship when things started to go wrong or gotten out of it with minimal damage, big boost, right, for his confidence.
Sure.
And otherwise it's okay. Don't worry about it, kid. You had a good outing. It kind of went sideways. Hopefully Buck's going to say, I didn't do my job right. It wasn't your fault.
Right.
And we won 4 out of 5 anyway.
We took 4 out of 5 anyway. And then over the last 3 days, they swept the Reds, which, I mean, playing the way they did, I mean, no offense to the Reds, but
there's
I mean, the kid they rolled out there today, I mean, was basically pitching up batting practice.
A few teams that
they're beating up on the teams they're supposed to beat up on. What did the Yankees do against the Reds?
Fair enough.
I don't know.
I think they only won. They won the series, but they didn't sweep them.
No, they didn't sweep them.
So look, the Mets are 8-2. They're up. They got a 7.5 game lead on the Braves. The National League is a 2-team race. If you just look at it all year long, the 2 best teams have been the Mets and the Dodgers, and now the Mets are fully loaded. And I really do think by the end of the season, the Mets are going to have the best record in the National League. I still think it's going to be tough for them to beat the Dodgers, but I think if you're going into a 7-game series against the Dodgers and the Mets have home field advantage, I'm not rooting against the Mets.
Right.
I'm not betting against the Mets. The Mets are going to have the advantage, especially if they could start Scherzer and DeGrom at home and secure that home field advantage.
Yeah.
Dodgers have some good pitching. Don't get me wrong.
Listen, while the Mets were going 8-2, the Dodgers were going 9-1.
Understood.
So but they have we'll see, but supposedly improved Padres team that I imagine they still have to play a few more times this season. And San Francisco's, not they're 3 games under 500. So,
right.
But yeah, you're right. The Mets could end up with that best record, but they're still the Mets.
Yeah, this is true.
I'll of course be rooting for them, and if I was going to place a bet, I would bet on them against the Dodgers.
You know what?
But
They're not still the Mets.
They're not still.
Well, no, they have built the team the correct way.
Mm-hmm. From the top down too.
Yeah. You have to be happy with what Uncle Steve and company have done with this team, and the fact that they didn't blow it up for a guy like Soto. Mm-hmm. Which you love to have a player like that.
I would if there was one. Here's the thing: there was one more move. I mean, they made. You look at what they did at the trade deadline, right? You look at what they did with. They went out and they got Vogelback from the Pirates. Then they got Ruff.
Who had a big hit today,
right? And then they got Ruff from the Giants. He's been on base. He's had a hit. And he's been on base in every game that he's played in so far. Vogelback, but. Since coming to the Mets, they got Ruff from the Giants. Trade away JD Davis too, but they got Ruff from the Giants.
Yeah, that was to get rid of the JD Davis problem,
right? But Ruff has been pretty decent, and he can play first base too.
Yeah,
which alleviates the issue with Dom Smith now too.
Right,
as well.
You brought in a guy that can do more consistently those things
right.
And the things that JD Davis can't do.
Right, exactly. And they also brought in Tyler Naquin from the Reds, who's been hitting the ball pretty. Had a triple yesterday, had a home run today. So they're 15-2 in their last 17. They're.
That's the thing, when you get players who forget the numbers. I know that's how we measure everybody, but there are certain players who, right, we say they don't play up to their potential or they're better than their numbers, right?
Right.
And when you bring those players into an environment, a winning environment like you have with the Mets, it's good for them, right? It's kind of that, hey, here I am. There's support all around me. I can go out and relax and be myself, and they become good. And, it's sort of like the Yankee mystique. Guys would, like the September call-ups, they come up and they're on fire because it's the Yankees and the history and all that. But if the Yankees don't kind of straighten up a little bit, you're going to have guys that are coming up. Yes, it's still the Yankees, but they're like, we're in a tough situation here. And that kind of pressure, they always seem to find like that one guy who comes out of nowhere. But it's a lot easier when you're in a better winning environment.
Right.
I mean, Nestor Cortez, you could say maybe. But look, this trade deadline wasn't about free agents choosing the Yankees. This was about the Yankees' inability to go out and work a trade to get pitching. I think in their mind, they really do think, with Frankie Montas, they've got the pitching staff now to win a World Series. How do I know this and they don't? Mm-hmm. Guess what? You don't. You don't have it.
Well, I guess I'm speculating here. I guess they're thinking we have enough pitching because we're going to hit because we're going to score runs.
Right.
And I think they're wrong about that. And you obviously do too.
They went 19 innings against the Mariners without scoring a run.
Yeah, but that's a fluke.
No, it isn't.
Couple notes here. First of all, where I was going with this, they got Vogelback, Ruff, and Naquin, right? The one piece that I really wish they had gotten, because their bullpen is still a little suspect. It's a little thin. I don't know why they didn't get Robertson. Why didn't they? I mean, they didn't have to get.
Did he go anywhere?
Yeah, he went to Philly.
Yeah, I thought the Yankees were going to go get him.
But I don't, and it didn't really cost Philly all that much, and he didn't have to come with Wilson Contreras. So I don't understand what the deal was. Why didn't they just go after Robertson? They gave up very little. Phillies gave up very little to get him. Unless the Cubs were going to try and fleece the Mets a little bit more than they did the Phillies. But either way, they should have done that. But either way, I think it's pretty good because the Mets, when you really think about it, the Mets did get a starting pitcher around the trade deadline.
Yeah.
This one right here.
Yeah. The two-time
Cy Young winner. Yeah.
We all know the Mets' weakness. The Mets' weakness is their middle relief.
Right, it's a middle relief. Now
they have the best closer in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
right? Am I wrong?
Yeah. I mean, some people are making a statement that he may at this rate he may very well be in the Cy Young talks as a closer, with his ERA where it is, knock on wood. But
what is it, under 1?
It's super low. I forget where, I got to look it up exactly what it is. But the Mets starting rotation since July 5th, starting rotation, the ERA is 2.23. That's first in all of Major League Baseball. They have the best ERA since July 5th in all of Major League Baseball, 31 games. Their WHIP is 1.03. They're second.
Who's lower than that?
I don't know.
How many walks and hits do you give up, Bernie? One. Oh, that's great. That must be the best. No.
So, their opponent's average is 216. That's third in Major League Baseball. Their opponent's OPS is 604, which is third in Major League Baseball. And the strikeouts per 9 inning is 9.8. That's second in Major League Baseball. So, the pitching staff, the starting rotation, it's kind of good. Knock on wood.
And listen, that takes pressure off your offense to a certain extent.
It does. And when
they don't feel like they have to go out and score 4 or 5 runs every single game in order to win.
Right. And when you have outings like Bassett had the other day, Monday, eating innings, he pitched 8 innings.
Yeah.
So that was
and toughed it out too.
And toughed it out. Yeah, exactly. Got in a couple jams and got himself out of them. But and then speaking about the offense, you have guys like Francisco Lindor. He, just today, he tied most RBIs by a shortstop in Mets history. He tied Jose Reyes with 81 for the season, and there's still 50 games to play, or 48 or whatever it is.
Yeah, and actually, were we talking about this the other week, or maybe I was reading about it and saying, well, Lindor's been kind of a disappointment based on what he was doing since he's come to the Mets, not living up to. And you look at the average, you go, yeah, that's for sure. What is he hitting now?
He's right now, since July 1st.
48? I don't know. What is it?
I got to pull up his full season numbers, but since July 1st, he's hitting 324 with 8 home runs, 23 RBIs, and his OPS is 959.
That's a pretty good 5-week or month and 9 days span. Yeah,
exactly. Pretty good.
All right, well, let's hope it continues. Yeah, the Mets are built. They can do a little bit of everything, right? They have pretty good defense. They have great pitching. They have some speed. They have contact hitting. I don't know. Seems like a crazy formula to me. You'd think that's what everybody would be doing.
Mm-hmm.
The Yankees
I think a lot of people want to do it. I think with the Yankees, what it is just 2 things. When it comes to free agency, whether you agree with this or not, whether they don't have the money or they're unwilling to spend the money, the Yankees are no longer willing to go out and pay to play. They're unwilling to do it. And when it comes to the trades and trade deadlines over the last few years, they are unwilling to give up their prospects. Now, having said that, Seattle gave up a boatload of prospects for Castillo. Now, are their prospects as good as the Yankees prospects? I don't know. Let's assume they are. I get it. I mean, it's not the easiest decision to make. But looking at this Yankees lineup, okay, with the looming decision of Aaron Judge coming at the end of the year in the offseason.
Well,
I mean, they've got Garrett Cole locked up. What is this team? What is the future? They don't have 4 23-year-olds who are on a 5-year deal that are lighting the league up.
Yeah,
they've backfilled with a lot of older players.
Well, who on this team, when you talk about the prospects and hanging on to them, that's great. But if they don't do anything for you, I mean, who on this team? You got Torres, right? He's homegrown, and you got Judge. Who else on this team is a homegrown prospect that they hung on to 3 or 4 or maybe 5 years ago and has now blossomed.
No, they finally got rid of some of them.
Yeah. Anybody else? So maybe they need a readjustment in strategy and formula. But will that ever happen with the current regime? Maybe not. Probably not.
Yeah.
And if it does, will they be any good at it?
Right.
Let's say next year which one of the Steinbrenners they're both involved, right? But which one's really in charge? Is it Hal?
Hal.
Let's say Hal says, you know what? We're doing this wrong. Let's stop with the home runs. Let's get a couple guys who can hit home runs. Let's do what the Mets did. Get some contact hitters and this and that. We'll beef up our pitching, not just have, a great closer and one really great starter and a couple of good guys in the bullpen or whatever. Brian Cashman ain't capable of doing that?
Right.
Well, doing it well?
It's not even stopping with the home runs.
In other words, not building
the Mets have
team.
Just as many home run hitters as the Yankees do.
No, but not building
Judge
a team.
Judge is having a career year. Of course he is.
Right, but the Yankees rely on the home run.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of teams do.
So if Hal says, let's not build or perpetuate another team that relies on the home run so much, can they actually do it? Do they have the personnel in the front office to make that happen?
Here's the difference with where the Yankees are at. For whatever reason, they do not have the cachet that they used to have in free agents wanting to come and play for them. Okay? The Yankees' big decision in the offseason was, do we hang on to Luke Voit or do we sign Anthony Rizzo to another contract? Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Freddie Freeman's hitting 328 in LA. Okay?
Yeah, and the guy that Atlanta replaced him with
is doing well too.
Who was also a free agent, as I recall.
Matt Olson was also a free agent. Yes.
Yeah, who is doing pretty well in Atlanta too. So neither one of those guys came to the Yankees.
No. You know what? I mean, we've said it before, and it at this point it looks like it's ringing true. I think it's about money, and I think I'm not so sure that it's the lack of money that they have. I'm sure they have plenty of money. It's the willingness to spend it with a lot of reasons. One of which is obviously they're going to have to pay a boatload of money to Aaron Judge, and I mean it's and there's other factors too. But
the Yankees' decision making has not been great.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, all right, they won the Garrett Cole, but the Astros kept Verlander and brought up 2 more pitchers that are better than Garrett Cole is right now. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, that's on the Yankees' payroll. Stanton and Cole are that's why the Yankees are unwilling to sign these contracts, because of Giancarlo Stanton and Garrett Cole. Mm-hmm. That's why.
Yeah, and they don't want to push the luxury tax, and I mean, you think about it. There's 2 of the top pitchers in baseball right now are almost 40. And they both at one point were on the same team.
Yeah. It's not like the Yankees don't have some good.
Of course, Detroit didn't do anything with either.
They just can't stay healthy. And look, you talk about who's came up from the Yankees and who they've been holding on to all these years. It's like Herman. It's like, even with all his troubles, they kept that Luis Severino. It's like at some point you just have to go. It's not working. It's not working.
Hey, listen, does that sound familiar, John? Does that sound like another team that you and I love very much?
Yeah. Yankees have become the Mets, and the Mets have become the Yankees.
How many players?
Giancarlo Stanton is what's his name? Who the Mets are still paying?
Bonilla.
Bobby Bonilla of the 2015, 2020.
Right. How many players did the Mets hold on to, and they never blossomed, or they, of course, it became so toxic. The environment became so toxic they couldn't possibly flourish, and then they went somewhere else. 3 years later than they should have, and they became at least quality players, if not great players.
Sure. I mean, one is like currently just played the Mets 5 games this past weekend. I mean, what did Travis d'Arnaud really amount to with the Mets? He just won a World Series last year.
Yeah,
and he's won
exactly. And that's right. How many Travis d'Arnauds have you and I seen over the last 30 years with the Mets? Now, part of that is, again, what I just said. Eventually, this just seems to be no way they're ever going to blossom with the Mets. But the Mets always used to be a couple of years too late in figuring that out.
Right.
Well, and they went out and got Chapman. They went out and got Starling Marte. They went out and got these guys who are not the Freddie Freemans of the world. But I told you Marte was going to be great. I wanted the Yankees to go out and get Marte. That's who the Yankees, instead of arguing over whether or not to keep Gardner for another year. I mean, it's ridiculous. The Yankees decision making. There's two, maybe three guys as position players that I would want to keep. In other words, there's two, three guys that I would not be upset if they left on the entire lineup of the Yankees, and one pitcher.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not a World Series champion.
No, it's not. You're right.
Yeah, but you just get in, and then you got to just get hot.
Yeah, I mean, you win there.
Exactly. You got to get hot. Now is the time to get hot. 6 weeks. 6 weeks the Yankees have been in a slump. 6 weeks.
And there's
not
only
6 days.
And there's
not
only
3 series.
And there's
6
only
weeks.
7 and change weeks left of a season, too.
Yes.
So.
Well, listen, here's the good news. Well, I don't know if this is good. It's good news, but I don't know if it's good news for either of the two teams that we're talking about right now. Is the old playoff format has been adjusted, correct?
Again?
Yes.
At the All-Star break?
I guess. Well, let's see.
Adjusted because of the All-Star break.
Maybe. So, 12 teams in the playoffs now.
12.
Remember when
No
there was
more.
4?
Now, there's going to be 30 teams in the playoffs.
Remember
Everybody gets 5 home games.
Remember when there was 4? and the pennant was 5 games?
Yeah. Remember that?
I liked it.
12 teams in the playoffs. No more single elimination.
Yeah, 3-game series, right?
3-game wild card.
So run it down. 12 teams. How many
Right.
of those are wild cards?
Let's see.
So there's 3 division champions.
3 division
that's
champions.
6.
And
3 wild cards in each.
Yeah.
6
So
wild cards in each.
The number 1 seed is the best.
Hold on. He's got to take a call. Hold on.
Is that your cell phone with the old people's ring, as they call it? No, that's it.
The ringer's off. I don't know why it's ringing.
I thought you were going to take the call. I wanted to hear it.
It's potential spam.
You know what, Mr. Spam? I call him Potty.
Oh, those
Potty.
are the best calls to take.
Right.
All right, the number 1 seed has the best record in the league.
Yeah.
The number 2 seed is the second best division winner. Number 3 seed, third best division winner. 4th is the best record.
Hold on. Let me ask a question. I guess there's no way. So the team with the best record has to be automatic.
It's obviously a divisional winner.
Obviously a division winner.
Right. So the division winner with the best record is the number 1 seed.
Right.
Second best record, division winner, number 2, number 3, etc. Number 4 seed is the best record amongst the wild card teams. Number 5, second best record amongst the wild card teams. Number 6, third best.
So there's 6 teams each division.
Right.
Yes, 1 and 2 teams get a first round bye and go straight to the division series.
Yep.
3 will play 6 in the wild card, and 4 will play 5. So
there's no more 1 game
and all 3 game series.
Yes, 3-game series.
So
is
3
it 1,
and then
is it 1, 1,
7
and 1?
and 7.
Is it 1, 1, and 1?
That it does not say.
Oh no, I don't think it is. I think all 3 games are at the better team's home stadium. Yeah, I don't think I think so.
Okay,
3 and 4 host, 5 and 6 are playing away games. Pretty sure.
Each wild card series game will be played in the home park of the team with the higher seed.
Right.
So the number 3 and number 4 seeds will host all 3 games.
Second round, best of 7 or best of 5?
Let's see.
7, right?
Winners of the wild card go to the division series. Number 1 will play the winner of the 4 and 5. Number 2,
right.
Division series is a best of 5.
Best of 5.
Best of 5 in a 2-2-1 format. Home field advantage going to the higher seed, so that'll be the number 1 and the number 2.
Sure.
So you get reward. So you get a bye, and then you get home field advantage in the division series.
Of course. Yeah.
And
then
the league championship and the World Series
are best of 7.
2-3-2. Yeah.
So there's no more of this stupid play-in bullshit.
No more 1 game. You've got 4 teams in each division fighting it out for the wild card, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 1 and 2 sit back with a bye, and then they get to play at home.
So you could still have a situation where a division winner has a home field against a team with a much better record.
Could be. Yeah. Sure.
In a 3-game series, with all 3 games away.
Yeah.
If a wild card winner,
what's going to happen? It's going to happen.
Here's go. If a wild card winner from one division has a better record than a division winner, the division winner takes precedence with regard to seeding.
Right.
So, and with regard to home field. So, yes.
Yeah.
So you could be playing a team with a better record.
That could help the Mets. If the Mets could hold off the Braves, that could be a big thing.
Yeah, best record in each league has got a huge advantage. You get rest, and then you're at home.
I'll tell you which the central divisions in each are going to be the ones that benefit from this. The Cardinals and whoever wins it, and I don't even know who's leading in the American League.
The Twins and the Guardians.
The Twins and those teams are going to benefit from this. And watch out for St. Louis.
And the White Sox are only a game behind the Twins.
Yeah, watch out for St. Louis.
2 games over 500 now.
Yeah, that's an interesting division right now.
Yeah. And St. Louis is in the lead in the.
I know they're ahead of Milwaukee, but what I'm saying is
they're ahead of Milwaukee by a half a game.
Milwaukee, St. Louis is going to have far less wins than the Mets or the Dodgers. But watch out for them.
In the last 10, the Cardinals have gone 8-2, and the Brewers have gone 4-6. So.
I understand that.
All right, so
St. Louis is playing good ball.
Let's look at the American League right now. It would be Houston and the Yankees would be 1 and 2, so they would get the bye and go straight to the division series.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would be the Mets and the Dodgers.
Right.
So, and again, if the Yankees weren't faltering right now, let's say they hadn't gone 60-24 and then gone a game under 500 since then or whatever it is, they were just a really good team and we weren't worried about them bombing out. That's a huge advantage considering how far ahead they are in their divisions and that the Central has 3 teams at 56 or 57 wins, so far behind. That's a huge advantage to have that bye and then at home in the division series. And the same would be for the Mets and the Dodgers because everybody else is so far behind.
Look, right, the Yankees have to get the top spot because the team that scares me right now. And oh, by the way, they just went out and got the best free agent pitcher, and he's beat the Yankees twice. Or he didn't get the win, but he's given up 1 run in 2 games against them. Watch out for Seattle.
Yeah. Well, they could listen. They could get if they have the second best record, they get the bye too. But they have to play the higher the winner of the higher.
They're the second wild card right now.
Seattle has the first wild card right now.
Seattle has the first wild card right now.
No.
Yep.
Toronto does. Toronto has a better they're a half a game ahead of Seattle right now.
They are. Yeah, you're right. They have the same. Seattle has 1 more win, but Toronto has
2 less losses.
2 less losses. So,
right. Yeah, they have a higher winning percentage.
Yeah. So, but Toronto. So Toronto's wild card number 1. Mariners wild card number 2.
And then look who's creeping up there. That's how good the American League.
Look at Baltimore. Baltimore could be in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be something. If this Yankee season could go any worse, what'll happen is Baltimore will get a wild card spot. They'll win in the first round. They'll come to Yankee Stadium and beat the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
That's what will happen.
And go to the ALCS. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they only got to win 1 game in Yankee Stadium and take 2 at home, and that's it.
There you go.
Win 3 out of 5. Oh.
And then go down and beat the Astros and go to the World Series against the Mets, and Buck is coaching against the Orioles in the World Series.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're not going to beat the Astros. The Astros are going to the World Series. I just feel it. I can't quite in my gut tell if it's going to be the Mets or the Dodgers. I hope it's the Mets because at least then it makes me feel good about rooting for the Mets because they're playing the Astros. But
right.
I don't know.
Well, right now the odds for right now, according to DraftKings, the odds for the to win the NL East right now, the Phillies are plus 5,000, the Braves are plus 700, the Mets are minus 1,000. So the Mets right now, according to DraftKings, are heavily favored to win the NL East. And what was the other one? The odds to win the National League, period, according to DraftKings. The Dodgers are plus 170. The Mets are plus 225. So they're not far behind the Dodgers. Braves are in third with plus 550. So, and the Padres are plus 700. Even with the Soto and Josh Bell trade. But
I mean, there's so much talk about Ohtani and Judge and blah 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 blah.
Right.
I mean, if I had to give out an MVP right now and a Cy Young in the American League, it'd be Justin Verlander. He's 15-3 with a 1.73 ERA.
And so he has the best record right now in the American League as far as pitching goes.
Oh yeah, by far.
You know who has one of the best records in the National League as a pitcher?
Yeah, Sandy Alcantara.
No.
I
Carlos Carrasco.
Oh yeah,
he's 13-4.
Right. Well, I'm going by yeah. I'm looking at ERA right now, but yeah,
not ERA, wins. Yeah. I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Carrasco is 13-4, but he's got a 3.76 ERA.
Right,
which great.
His ERA is
great.
very. It's low. The last. I guess it's since either the All-Star break or since July 5th or whatever they went. I forget what they set it by, but his ERA is super low over the last, I guess, maybe 4 or 5 starts.
Right.
Yeah. So
he's got just as many Ks per 9 as Justin Verlander. Verlander's WAR is 4.2 and his WHIP is 0.85.
Well, there you go.
I mean, you're talking about old pitchers. I mean, look, Houston is. Oh, by the way, Urquidy's 11-4. You know, he's their number 2. You know, then you got Valdez, who's 10-4 with a 2.87 ERA.
Right.
I think people are overlooking the Astros. I really do.
I'm not overlooking the Astros. I'm not.
You could say what you want about the Astros. Is there a better organization at year after year filling the holes that they lose and bringing good players up in through their organization than the Astros? I don't think there is. I really don't think there is. I mean, what is the Astros salary compared to the Dodgers or the Mets or the Yankee? I mean, I'm guessing it's not nearly as high.
Let's see.
My point being is that they seem to be able, with whatever it is that they're doing, to year after year have great pitchers.
And it kind of seems like they shed somebody.
Yeah,
every year,
like a George Springer or like Garrett Cole, or
right. Every year there's just one
shed
guy.
Somebody. They shed one of their top 3 players.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. They shed somebody great, and they find a way. It's almost like a Billy Ball. They find a way to replace
Billy Ball that goes to the World Series.
Here. I got
to replace those numbers with a couple other guys.
Here you go.
It saves him a hell of a lot of payroll.
The Astros are 8th right now. The Dodgers are 1 with $265+ million payroll. The Mets are 2 with 261. The Yankees are third with 251 million plus. The Phillies are 4th, 242. Padres are 5th with 220. The Red Sox
is that updated for the Padres?
It's updated as of yeah.
Okay.
That's not bad for that team, actually.
Red Sox are 6th with 207 plus, almost 208 million. The White Sox are 7th with 196 plus million, and the Astros are 8th with 182 plus million. So they're almost $100 million behind the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'll take the Astros and save on the money and pass on the White Sox. Look, this is the difference in baseball right now. It has everything to do with the front office. Has everything to do with the front office.
But the of all of the teams, the 26-man payroll currently is a 26-man payroll. The total payroll. I gave you the total payroll, right? There's a 26-man payroll, the injured reserve payroll, the retained payroll, the buried payroll, and the suspended payroll. The Dodgers, part of the Dodgers payroll is Trevor Bauer's $35 million that he's getting. So right now, the highest 26-man payroll in baseball right now is the Mets, $228 million.
Imagine Trevor Bauer. Look, I'm not suggesting he should be playing. Let me just preface that. Mm-hmm. Trevor Bauer. If Trevor Bauer is on the Dodgers, game over.
Mm-hmm.
Game over.
Just go right to the World Series and let the Dodgers play the Astros right now and have it over. Get it done with.
Yeah,
so just watch football.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I'm glad it's not the case.
We'll see. I know this is going to sound incredibly odd, but looking at the Mets, I have no question mark about Max Scherzer. None.
Yeah.
In fact, I think he should be their starter in game 1 of the playoffs. I have question marks about DeGrom. When was the last time DeGrom pitched in a playoff game?
When was the last time DeGrom pitched in a playoff game? That would be 2015.
And what did he do?
Well, he won a World Series game.
he wasn't super overpowering in the postseason. That's also 7 years ago.
He was overpowering in the divisional series and the championship series. He kicked the crap out of the Dodgers when he pitched, and he lambasted the Cubs. So
was he as dominant as Max Scherzer was last year in the World Series? No.
Well, Max Scherzer. Well, 2 years ago, you mean? Max
2
Scherzer.
years ago.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, hard to tell. I mean, it's been 7 years since I watched it.
Who won the World Series? Who won the World Series last year?
The Braves.
That's right. It was 2 years ago.
Yeah. So
I kept thinking Max Scherzer went to the Braves after the Dodgers.
No. He went to the Dodgers at the trade deadline and went to the Braves to play the World Series. Just bounced around. Steady pitcher.
Look, I'm just saying it's been 7 years.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And he didn't get to play in the postseason the following year because they were in it, but it was only one game, and Syndergaard pitched that game. So.
Three series in 2015. He was 3-1 with a 2.88 ERA.
Mm-hmm.
25 innings pitched, 21 hits. Blah blah blah. 1.160 WHIP. Not bad.
He had a pretty good outing.
Pretty good, but not
the World Series.
1.5 ERA Jacob deGrom that we're used to of late. I'm just saying. I got question marks about
in the World Series. He pitched one game, went 5 innings, gave up 4 earned runs on 6 hits.
The difference is the Mets should be able to score 5 runs.
Right.
Yeah. So his ERA was 7.20 in his one World Series game. Was 1.38 in the division series and 2.57 in the championship series. I
think you put DeGrom up against a team's number 2 guy, and you let Scherzer battle out with
we were actually going back a couple people, and we were going back and forth with this today. At the moment, Scherzer's the number 1 pitcher. DeGrom's the number 2.
Right.
You know, and I would say, and strictly based on an innings eating reason, I would say Bassett's your number 3 and Carrasco's your number 4. That could change, but I mean, Bassett and Carrasco are your 3A and 3B basically. But I would throw Bassett in there as the 3rd because he's an innings eater, you know, and then bring up Carrasco for the 4th, double him back to Scherzer for game 5, so forth and so on. You know, that's where I'm at with that. And of course, Taijuan Walker at that point you're not going to have 5 pitchers in the postseason. Taijuan Walker's going to be in the bullpen. So,
I mean, is Taijuan Walker not one of your top 4 starters?
No, he's a damn good number 5 starter to have.
Who's I mean, who's do you go with 4 in the playoffs, or do you go with 3?
I'd go with 4.
Who would that be other than DeGrom and Scherzer then?
DeGrom, Scherzer, Bassett, and Carrasco.
Yeah,
I would go with that. So now you're lining yourself up for Scherzer in game 5, and in a 7-game series, DeGrom in game 6 and Bassett in game 7, or maybe just double back to Carrasco if it gets to game 7. Or at that point, if it's Game 7, it's the NLCS and it's tied, and you're in a Game 7.
Sure.
And Scherzer hasn't pitched in 4 days.
It's the Randy Johnson.
He's
effect.
pitching again,
Sure.
right? Yeah.
You start chilling and bring in Randy Johnson. Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Mets have the best. I think the Mets still have the best top 4 pitchers in baseball. If DeGrom, with DeGrom back right now, the Dodgers, though, surprisingly, they've had some surprises this year. They're not that far behind, but I like Scherzer starting. I just like Scherzer being able to pitch twice in a series. I really do.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with that. A couple other baseball things, because we've talked about baseball for just about an hour now. And we still got some football to talk about.
No, do we? I thought it was just going to be baseball.
Well, no, there's a couple of things we should touch on. Mets top-ranked prospects. I just want to throw this out there right now. According to Baseball America, right now, Francisco Alvarez is ranked 6th among all prospects as a catcher. Brett Batty is ranked 28th amongst all prospects, and they just promoted him to AAA too. They took him from AA, promoted him to AAA. Brett Batty, he's a third baseman and outfielder. Kevin Parada is another catcher. He's ranked 53rd, and Alex Ramirez is an outfielder ranked 94th. But so the Mets have some decent prospects going there. And one other side note that I just want to bring up. I don't know if you noticed this, but the Hall of Fame game, not the Hall of Fame game, sorry, the Field of Dreams game. It's in whatchamacallit. It's set to be played. It's being played tomorrow, right? The Reds and the Cubs are playing in the Field of Dreams game tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, I won't be watching.
I'll be tuning into the Giants preseason game. More on that briefly in a minute. But it could be the last one, at least for a while, because apparently the site is building
It's built on an old Native American graveyard, and
the Indians are not happy.
The Native Americans.
The Native Americans are not happy. The Guardians are not happy.
The Guardians aren't happy.
The Guardians are not happy either. No, so they're building a new facility for Little League baseball and softball, and it most likely is not going to be ready by the time next year's I keep saying Hall of Fame Field of Dreams game would be, and it's going to limit access to the stadium. And Major League Baseball does not want to deal with that, so they're saying they don't want to deal with that. So if that does happen, they're going to go back to having a series over in London. It's like they did in 2019.
Fantastic. They're going to build a cornfield in London,
apparently. So anyway, so I was going to throw that there.
How about you just not do a gimmicky thing for 1 year?
Yeah, really.
What's
either that or they're going to play. Who knows? Whatever. Who knows? All right.
If you build it, they will come.
Pretty much.
Except for when they're building the Little League World Series field, and then they won't be able to come. Really? You couldn't. How does that scheduling get screwed up?
All right, exactly. And you're going to tell me they can't build in a year? They can't build a facility that's going to be able to it's going to house what they need to do there.
Yeah.
Does anybody really give a shit about this? I mean, am I just being cynical? Is this really? Does anybody care?
It was fodder. It was just fluff.
No. I know, but I mean, does this help baseball having a Field of Dreams?
No, I don't think so
much.
I don't think so.
It's a nice idea, but it's a novelty, which for me wears off quickly.
Maybe they should do the All-Star game there or something. I don't know. Imagine the home run derby with a cornfield.
It will never. Yeah. Right. And then kids are going finding balls like for the next
coming out
year.
All bloody and children of the corn are popping out.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Come out and play.
Kid with a scythe walks out with the ball on the end of it.
There's some bodies that they find out there. Yeah,
exactly.
That would make it interesting.
All right. Well, we're going to keep an eye on everything. Obviously, we're going to keep watching baseball, and hopefully,
Unfortunately, I am.
Hopefully, the rest of the season, goes swimmingly for all those, parties that want to see their teams do well. And I'll leave it at that. So, all right, let's. Well, you know what? We did the entire baseball talk with the football background in. Not the baseball background. So let's put the football background back up. There we go.
I think you should put the baseball background.
Oh, let's do football with a baseball background up there.
It'll be like when the Chargers played in the 80s.
There you go. There you go. All right. There you go. Why not?
The Raiders.
Okay, just a couple of things. Let's talk about the Jets first, because I want to get Pete's opinion. How do you feel about the Mekhi Becton injury now?
Have they upgraded it, or they're still obfuscating about how serious it is?
No, they put him on the injured reserve.
Oh, they did? Okay. I meant to check that before the show, but of course I didn't. Yeah, okay. Well, that's... For those who said moving him to the right side was the beginning of the end for Mekhi Becton with the Jets, they might have been wrong, but this could be the beginning of the end for Mekhi Becton with the Jets.
Well,
it's a shame too.
It is. Don't get me wrong. I like Mekhi Becton.
He's my second favorite Mekhi.
I don't. Unless, if he comes back and he is a great right tackle, then fine, okay. But if not, I don't know how long is George Fant under contract.
Right.
And look, I hate to be, as much as I hate to be right, I said I thought the Jets should look to the draft for some help with the offensive line a little bit earlier than they actually did. But they did make moves to address the problem, but sure could have used one of those big top prospect offensive linemen in the draft right about now.
Yeah. And well, here's the thing, right? He hurt his knee the other day, planted his foot weird. Boom, that hurt his knee. But a couple of things. He apparently showed up to training camp well overweight. But
that's gonna happen. Look, he when he hurt his rehab took longer than anybody thought that it would or should.
Sure.
He did show up overweight, which is something that happens when you can't be active and you're a big guy and all that. But still, he could have done a better job with that. I don't know. At some point, you have to weigh what he's done for the team versus what you think you're going to get from him out of the future, and you have to look at the injury. If it's the same knee, injured twice, two different ways, he's, like I said, if he comes back and he's great. But if not, he's gone.
Right.
And look, he's 23. And
yeah.
He's somebody who unfortunately is going to be able to be picked up because I think this is his last year of his rookie deal, right? He's going to be able to be picked up because of the question marks at a steal.
No, I think he's got a couple more years.
He's got at least another one, if not two.
Okay.
But depending on what happens in the next 1 or 2 years, you could be right.
Yeah. And the Jets are talking to Dwayne Brown, who's a 5-time Pro Bowler. He's 37 years old.
He's 37.
But look, that's maybe what they need.
Well, he's got one more year.
One more year.
So next year will be his final year. That's what I thought. Yeah, about five, almost $6 million on the cap. So, I feel bad. It sucks when a player gets hurt, and
he's the Ron Dane of.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And listen, he had a really great year, and then he had kind of a pretty good year. So I don't know if there's anybody who, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be great. I don't know how many people are actually still saying that.
But he's a starting tackle in the NFL.
But he is. And again,
and he's 23.
Yeah, and it kind of, I think we were talking about this.
He's got 5 more prime years left in him easily.
Yeah. And I think we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and moving him to the right makes them more mobile, makes them big on that side, and they were going to run right and run over people. I don't know if Dwayne Brown is doesn't have the same athleticism as Mekhi Becton, so that's going to maybe kind of change your plans a little bit offensively.
Right.
He's a good fill-in, but you're right. He's 37, and you're really going to need some depth on that line because Dwayne Brown is going to need a little bit more rest than maybe Mekhi Becton would. So,
well, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not.
He's going to obviously need far less rest.
If they were both playing.
Play.
If they were both playing.
Mekhi Becton's looking at a year of rest.
Yeah. Becton's going to get all the rest he needs. Certainly it should not, you would think, would not be enough to throw the Jets offense into disarray. But you never know.
You never know. Never know.
By the way,
depth at the offensive line is just so critical for any offensive success, and it's hard to get the right pieces.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Just ask the Giants.
Yeah, I don't know who all the offensive linemen on the Jets are, but I haven't heard anything about they have a lot of depth and or quality depth.
Here's the thing. They actually did have a decent line. You had a little bit of depth. They just signed Joe Douglas just signed somebody the other day.
Jumbo Elliott.
He just signed Jumbo Elliott the other day.
Was it Jumbo or Jimbo? Might have been Jimbo.
William Roberts and
Never a more horrible name for an athlete than Jumbo Elliott.
Jumbo Elliott. Yeah.
I mean, that sucks.
Hey, he opened a bar in Lyndhurst.
Yeah, whatever.
Here's the thing, though. Look,
it's called Jumbos, right?
Right, of course.
Jets have their young franchise quarterback. You want to protect him. You want the team to be able to run so that he has time to pass, so they don't become one-dimensional. You should have a pretty good to really good offensive line, or at least be trying to build to that.
Right.
And this is going to hurt you in that respect. So hopefully they can put enough pieces out there to give Zach Wilson some time to throw the ball and continue his development. But we shouldn't be looking for the Jets to win, 10 games and go to the playoffs or whatever. No. This is just still a development year for the quarterback and for the team. But
this just in, though, the Jets have replaced their cheerleaders with 10 MILFs that they're going to be putting in the end zone. They say that it should increase Zach Wilson's touchdown total by at least 20%.
Yeah, it should be. You're right.
But he's also going to.
I did hear that.
But he's also going to be late coming out of the tunnel at halftime.
Who cares?
Every home game.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't come out of the tunnel at halftime, take his clothes off, and run back through the tunnel, then it's all right.
And the other thing about Dwayne Brown is I think he had a gun possession arrest.
Yeah.
Sometime in July.
Hasn't? Who hasn't?
Yeah, but
hasn't.
It was recent and it hasn't necessarily been settled, so that could end up being.
He didn't shoot himself in the foot.
No.
Anyway,
I can't find the meme, so I can't put it up. But I'll tell you, it was a meme that had what's her face, Jennifer Coolidge. She was Stifler's mom in American Pie, right? It said she's had sex with 200 people because of her MILF role in American Pie.
She was obviously joking.
She was on Twitter, and then Zach Wilson replied saying, "Let's make it 201."
Well, speaking of Zach Wilson, he has deleted social media from his phone, he says, for the season. So,
yeah.
Now, let me read the quote to you because it's kind of funny. He says, "For me, it comes down to limiting what voices I really need to hear. And right now, it's hearing what my coaches have to say, what the other QBs have to say, and what my teammates are thinking on every single play."
Right.
Now, here's the funny line. And this is a quote: "Even parents sometimes can be a distraction." Now, we don't know if he was talking about his parents or his best friend's parents or whatever, but
whatever she was, right? Yeah.
Girlfriend, I guess ex-girlfriend, right? Is that the one who?
No, it's his mother's friend.
Oh, his mother's best friend. Yeah. So we don't know if he's talking about his parents or his parents' friends who are also parents.
Right.
Anyway, so that was kind of interesting.
There you go.
Look, the Jet. I've been reading top-ranked offensive lines in the NFL. The Jets are number 13. Mm-hmm. Which isn't bad.
And the Giants are number 45.
I don't think the Giants are on the list.
That's because they don't have an offensive line. So, Now,
Well,
apparently they have a better, from what I've been hearing, they have a better offensive line this year. Now, that's all relative, right?
Giants,
what
Giants
is better?
Giants are
better than last year.
18th. The Giants are ranked 18th according to this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that means that makes the Jets 13 look pretty shitty.
Well,
they're only 5 spots ahead.
Who do you think's number 1?
Dallas.
Nope, the Eagles.
The Eagles. Yes.
Who do you think's number 2?
Dallas.
The Browns.
Okay.
Who do you think's number 3?
Just tell us.
Lions.
All right.
Number 4, Tampa Bay. Number 5, Green Bay. Number 6, John.
Dallas.
Number 7, the Patriots. Number 8, the Bengals. That's a big improvement.
That's
number
a great
9,
improvement.
Number 9, the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Number 10, the Colts. Number 11, the Rams. 12, the Chargers. 13, the Jets. This is obviously with McKinnon.
That's with Becton, so obviously they dropped now.
So anyway,
if that drops them below 18, that makes the Giants
the
17.
The Bills are only 20th.
Wow.
Yeah, what's that?
Well, that's because Josh Allen can score 47 points a game. So
they don't really. Yeah. They need 4 scarecrows in a center.
Pretty much.
So let me ask you guys this.
Yep.
Here's what I'm going to read you another quote. This is from Robert Saleh.
Mm-hmm.
He can start in this league. I believe that. Sometimes this league has a tendency to put labels on people, and then their opportunities kind of get limited. Mm-hmm. But blank is a starting quarterback in this league. He's really, really talented. Who's Robert Saleh talking about?
Daniel Jones.
Joe Flacco. Robert Saleh loves Joe Flacco. He's a starter in this league, really, really talented. He's got a label, and his opportunities have been unlimited, and supposedly that's unfair. Is this motivation, try to motivate Zach Wilson to make sure that there's no way Joe Flacco gets to start over him? Is this him trying to pump up Joe Flacco because maybe they're looking to trade Joe Flacco? What is the
could be a little both. And if I were Zach Wilson, I would take it as a reason to
I think I'd be a little bit
going.
pissed if I was Zach Wilson. What are you pumping up my backup so much for?
Maybe that.
I think they're trying to get something for him.
Yeah.
There's no way they're going to start Flacco over Wilson. There's no need to motivate Wilson. He's not a problem.
So they're just pumping him up, trying to.
They're trying to make him stick around because he's probably doesn't realize that he's actually signed on for this year.
He hasn't showed up yet.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody go say something nice about Joe Flacco.
Somebody go to Joe Flacco's house and
tell Flacco we really like him.
Tell him he's really, really talented and he's a starting quarterback. But Joe Flacco is a starting quarterback in this league. That's just, I don't know about the wisdom of saying that. No matter what the purpose is,
right? You're right. All right, let's switch gears to the Giants for a second. As far as the offensive line goes, NFL Network's Brian Baldinger was quoted as saying the Giants' offensive lineman Shane Lemieux is tougher than nails. Okay,
tougher than Lenny Dykstra. That's pretty tougher
than Lenny Dykstra.
Hopefully not dumber than Lenny Dykstra.
Tougher than nails. You know what? Hey. We'll see if that 18 should be a 17 or moves up, or if it should be a 27. That will come out. But the main thing I wanted to talk about, and Pete's done talking.
Why don't you bring up the Giants offensive line? I don't blame him for that. Look, by the way, being a good offensive lineman has nothing to do with being tough as nails.
Right. Of course. But the real issue here is there's been a lot of reports. And some of it, I'm sure, is just fodder for clickbait in a lot of stories. But I've heard from a lot of pundits that don't have anything to do with clickbait that Daniel Jones looks pretty bad in training camp so far. That could be for a couple of reasons. Let's talk about it. That could be for a couple of reasons. Obviously,
because he's Daniel.
Hold on. Let me tell you. Let me give you the reasons.
Because he's Daniel Jones.
Let me give you the reasons. No, reason number one, he's learning a new system. Right? It takes time, right? Reason number two, the wide receivers, anybody else he's dumping passes off to, are learning a new system. And if he's missing passes, Some of them might not be his fault. It might be the wide receivers. Okay, we'll give it that. Okay. And number 3, he's Daniel Jones. Okay.
I don't know if I put that as number 3.
He's learning his ABCs, and he's Daniel Jones.
So I think we need to put an over-under right now.
Wait, can I just say something? Has anybody made
No.
a group? Has anybody made a group of good receivers as bad as the Giants' receiving core was last year? I mean, think about what we were talking about at the beginning of last season. Was how deep they were at receiver, how good all of these receivers are, all of these acquisitions that they made, blah, 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 blah. Each one of those gentlemen had their career worst years by a significant margin. And there's only one thing common in all of that.
One common denominator.
That's Daniel Jones. Yeah. So the over-under that I pose right now, and I'm going to put it right down on this. Okay. How many games will Daniel Jones play before he is pulled for Tyrod Taylor? We're going to start with you, Harry.
God. Do I want Tyrod Taylor? No. 8.
Really? Just typing in here.
I think you do want Tyrod Taylor because if he plays, then there's no more question about Joe Flacco.
Freudian slip
about Daniel Jones.
All right,
you know what I mean?
Once we finish the over-under, I have a question for both of you guys. Daniel Jones or Joe Flacco right now? Both.
Well, I was just going to say, there's a starting quarterback who's really, really talented. And can start in this league who might be available.
There you go.
And he's no Tyrod Taylor, but he's one Joe Flacco.
And I'm going to tell you exactly what the Giants are going to do. Give Pete, tell me what your number
I
is.
gotta say, that was the number I was thinking of too. But I will say 9.
9,
just
all
to
right.
be different. I think he gets one
more
game.
one more sacrificial outing.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
This is
John's going 2.
this is the Price is Right. I'm lower than you. 5. He gets 5 games. It might even be 4, but I'm going 5.
Now, the real question is, how many poop emojis will Daniel Jones get in the first 5 games?
Daniel Jones is going to get.
Is this going to be 30, a record year? Is this going to be a record
absolutely.
year?
30 poop emojis in the first 5 minutes of game 1.
And
I may even give some tomorrow night.
Sweaty moose balls or something?
Sweaty moose balls.
Now, I want some.
How many sweaty moose balls?
Just 2. You don't really need any more. Here's what I want to know.
Okay.
How does
this is going to be used very often this year. Right here.
How does injury play into this?
Yeah.
In other words, if he plays 4 games and then gets hurt, and is out for the rest of the season, does John win? Or, in other words, if he doesn't get yanked, if he's out because of injury,
I'm not saying it because I want to win, but yes, because that plays into it. He's there. It's only here.
They might make up an injury too.
I might. Yeah. I'll tell you a couple of reasons. One, I mean, it's not just his play; it's his brittleness. I mean, Eli Manning never missed a game until he was benched by Ben McAdooshbag. Okay, McAdoo. Okay.
So this is how
Daniel Jones is Phil Simms the early years.
So this is not how many games he'll play the whole season. It's how many before he's out for one reason or another.
Out for one reason or another. And
even if he comes back, it doesn't matter.
And here's the thing too. Tyrod Taylor, and I'm not saying Tyrod Taylor is the best thing since sliced bread. He's obviously not. He's a stopgap, right?
Sliced bread's not that great.
He's nice. Yeah, I know. It's overrated. But the bottom line is he's actually a serviceable quarterback, and he's a starting. He can be a starting quarterback. That's it.
New York Giants. What are you looking for? I just saw it on LinkedIn today. Serviceable quarterback.
Serviceable quarterback. Right.
Must be under 50.
We'd like a serviceable quarterback to replace our shitty.
Over 22, under 50.
Right. So here's what I'm saying.
Joe Flacco.
Look, if Daniel Jones and I'm gonna make Harry laugh his ass off right now. If Daniel Jones happens to, and I'm being clearly hypothetical here, but if Daniel Jones happens to surprise everybody and plays lights out all season, more power to him. There you
He's
go.
gonna play lights out.
Right.
It's gonna play like
Right.
his lights are out.
Right. But he might get his lights knocked out. But by an opposing defender because the offensive line is still the offensive line. But in any event, if he doesn't, we will see Tyrod Taylor this year because they're not going to just give up the rest of the season. Not that they think they're going to go anywhere, but they want to see the improvement of everybody else. And Tyrod Taylor is going to be able to do that.
The Giants don't even know how to lose. They don't even know how to tank properly.
Right. So with Tyrod Taylor in there, now they have good draft capital next year. They can package a lot of that and move up to get whatever quarterback they do want to get in next year's draft. So that's exactly what's going to happen. Daniel Jones is going to be gone. They're not going to pick up his option.
There's no top quarterbacks in next year's draft.
No, there's a few.
Maybe they could get one from Georgetown.
There you go. No, actually going to take one from Villanova.
St. John's.
Hey, listen, don't sleep on Joe Flacco.
Mm-hmm. Don't sleep on Joe Flacco. Wasn't that a Beastie Boys song?
I think so.
Yeah.
You could bring him in to save your season. Joe Flacco could be the season.
I'm just looking for the Giants season to be entertaining and not a rerun of the last 5 years.
Right.
Bring in Jimmy G. Fuck it. Bring in Jimmy G. Why not?
Why not? At least there was a little activity at one of the practices. John Feliciano and Tay Crowder actually got in a big brawl, and a bunch of other people jumped in the other day.
Jose
Feliciano and
Jamal Crawford
and Jay Crowder. They got in a scuffle. But anyway, so all right, a couple of around the league notes. I want to bring this up. Number one, Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson. Obviously, Roger Goodell is appealing the 6-game suspension that was cast down. It hasn't been heard yet. He's Goodell. Where's I wanted to read it to. Goodell put in Cleveland Browns announced Wednesday. The main reason I'm saying this is that Deshaun Watson is the scheduled starter for the team's preseason opener against the Jags on Friday night.
Sure.
Because obviously they're appealing it, so the suspension didn't take place yet, so he can actually play. So. If
they want it to start immediately too.
Yeah.
But if they're feeling it, they can't, right?
They can't, right? So NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell has designated former New Jersey Attorney General Peter C. Harvey to hear the appeal, and there is not currently a timetable for a ruling. So that still is out there at the moment. And
so, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So the NFL appointed a judge to come up with a sentence based on Deshaun Watson's actions and previous disciplinary actions. Am I correct in that it was
correct?
She was appointed by the NFL.
Yep.
NFL did not like the result, so they're appealing it. Is this the NFL really not liking the result, or is this a game of the NFL has to not like the result now because of the outcry of many saying it was not a harsh enough punishment?
Probably a little both. But I still wonder, and don't get me wrong, I'm not picking sides here by any means. I'm just looking at the facts of not the facts of the case, just the facts of what the NFL did. They appointed somebody. They don't like what that person did. They appoint somebody else. Where's the and I'm not saying I agree with what the first one said or I agree with the NFL or not or whatever. I'm just saying, it's.
There's also the issue of his contract,
right?
Which basically every other team in the league is unhappy about because his salary, $230 million over 5 years. Guess how much for this season? $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
So with a 6-game suspension, he would lose. Was that
renegotiated?
No, that's the way it was written.
So he knew he was going to potentially go to jail.
So he could lose with 6 games. He would lose about $345,000 of his salary.
How much did he lose last year? Because he didn't play all of last year, right?
I don't know. A lot.
No.
Now, here's the thing, though. it's almost a Pyrrhic victory if the NFL has their way and they get a 1-year suspension, because he's only making $1 million this year.
But hasn't he already kind of had? Look, let me preface all this by saying I'm looking at this objectively. I am not justifying Deshaun Watson and his behavior. I think but didn't he miss a year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He did.
So in past cases, that's been taken into account.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
so it's really a 2-year suspension that they're looking for.
Well,
right.
And who's looking for this?
He didn't miss that year because he was suspended. It was because the thing was still being investigated.
He was told he couldn't play.
He was told he couldn't play. That means he's suspended.
He wasn't suspended by the NFL.
Suspended by the Houston Texans.
But he was told he couldn't play.
Right, but it wasn't an official NFL action.
I understand that, but neither were the other instances where somebody, was sitting out because of disciplinary action. Even in other sports, such is the case.
I'm not saying it's fair; it's completely unfair.
Why, if the NFL is looking for what is it? The NFL that's looking for a 1-year suspension? If they were just looking for
the NFL is looking for a 1-year suspension.
Then why didn't they just give him a 1-year suspension a year ago?
Mm-hmm.
Because
right after the court dates were done. Why didn't they just say, "Hey, we're the NFL. We're going to make this decision"?
The court dates were done after last season, and
I understand
the court dates hadn't done that.
They've been done for 6 months now.
Right. Well, the 1-year suspension wouldn't have even started yet. It would start now.
My point being is that if the NFL wanted a 1-year suspension,
why did they just give it?
It should have already been done, and then but they let the trade. So they want it both ways. They want it both ways. They want him to be in the league. They waited until the Browns were because if he was suspended, okay, the Browns would not have signed him.
Right.
His value would have plummeted, and he would not be in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the NFL did not punish him in the year that he missed. That was
I understand that.
Right.
I understand that.
How could they suspend him if? I mean,
but why are they going through this fucking process? Is my point. If they want to suspend him for a year, just suspend him for a year.
But you can't just suspend him on allegations.
Yeah,
I understand that. I'm talking after the allegation. Look, there's no. He's not going to jail. There's no criminal punishment for him. So whether you like that or not, that's the end result. Once that was done, why did the NFL not just say you're suspended for a year? Because we already had this predetermined that you're going to be suspended for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Why go through this whole independent?
You're right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
I understand what you're saying, but I think they had to investigate on their own. I guess
I understand all that. I'm saying since it was done, okay. Anyway,
I got you.
Roger Goodell's an asshole, is what I'm getting at.
Well, yeah,
man up and make your decision.
Mm-hmm.
Man up and make your decision, whatever the fuck it is.
Whatever it is.
So I could stop hearing about Deshaun Watson.
Exactly.
A $231 million middle of the road quarterback.
He's
got 2 more years left before his legs give out and he can't play in the NFL anymore.
Speaking of crimes, if you will, or potential or whatever you want to call it, or alleged crimes. Former NFL running back Frank Gore allegedly grabbed a naked woman by her hair and dragged her across the hallway of an Atlantic City hotel, according to a report. The altercation took place on July 31st, which led Gore to being charged with simple assault. The incident occurred on the 59th floor of the Havana Tower of the Tropicana in Atlantic City.
Horrible. But my one question is, Frank Gore stopped playing?
Yeah. His what you call it? His contract was up with the Jets last year, right?
Yeah. So he was in a hotel.
He was in the Havana Tower, the 59th floor of the Havana Tower in the Trop in Atlantic City, and which is the nicer of the towers of the Trop.
That's the one I always stay in.
Of course, it's ironically the one I always stay in too.
Yeah.
But in any event, he grabbed a naked woman by her hair and dragged her across the hallway.
So she was already
out of one.
She was already in the hallway naked.
Was she in the hallway naked? Was she in a room naked?
Doesn't say. Doesn't say. The way it would lead you to believe she was in one room and he dragged her into another, but could be down the hallway. Could be she was in the room and he just dragged her down the hallway. Maybe she was naked and running away and he grabbed her and pulled her back to his room. I don't know. Maybe she was passed out and he just wanted to get her back in and he was, instead of grabbing her by the arms, I don't know.
That's true. Dragging could have been like holding her under the arms if she was unconscious.
Right.
But it said dragged her by her hair.
Dragged her by her hair.
Well, she could have been unconscious and dragged by her hair too.
Unless she was a cave woman, and I don't think even that back then it was probably questionable.
It was questionable behavior. Definitely.
Who knocked his wife out in the elevator?
Ray Rice. Yeah.
Is that the same hotel that Beyonce's sister punched Jay-Z?
So that elevator.
I believe it is. Yeah.
The devil elevator that brings out the worst.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
I can't imagine football players acting like this. It's just.
Well, here's the thing. He's boxing now, right?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah. I think I told you about this story.
Maybe he was practicing.
You know what? Maybe
for wrestling.
Maybe he was roiding, and a little bit of roid rage took him over.
Could be.
Yeah,
or he might have been.
No excuse.
He might. No, I'm not saying it is. Maybe he was frustrated that his boxing career wasn't going as well. I think he beat the crap out of some tub of lard in his first fight and looked great. I think there were a few clips on the web, but I don't know. Maybe
I thought I held my own, and I don't appreciate being called a tub of lard.
I keep telling you, there's money to be made. You don't know how many OnlyFans requests I get for tub of lard. That could be you.
That could be you.
But you're right. No excuse. And who knows? Maybe he was drunk. How do you? Is there footage?
Horrible news. Hopefully she's okay, and hopefully justice is served.
Yeah.
Anything else on the Giants' offensive line?
Yeah. I just wanted to not the Giants' offensive line, but based on rage or injuries that may have happened, if you want to say, I'm trying to go in order here, right? For another report, Brett Favre was on a podcast recently. And whatchamacallit, it says, Brett, I'll just read it really quick. Brett Favre's status as the NFL's Iron Man came with a dark side, as he explained in a recent podcast. During an appearance on the Bubba Army radio show this week, the Green Bay Packers Hall of Famer was asked how many serious head injuries he sustained during his 20-season professional career. Favre's response, as found by TMZ, was to note he previously believed the answer to be 3 before learning a broader definition of the word concussion. Here's Favre's updated estimate, thousands. Here's his full response. He said, the thing about concussions is we still don't know a lot about them. If you asked me this 10 years ago, how many concussions I had, I would have said 3. The reason I would have said 3, I thought concussions were where you get knocked out, where you black out for a period of time. You don't know where you are, memory loss, dizzy. A boxer gets knocked and tries to get up, his legs are rubber. That's a concussion. What we now know is concussions happen all the time. You get tackled and your head hits the turf. You see flashes of light or ringing in your ears, but you're able to play. So based on that, had to be thousands. Had to be. Because every time my head hit the turf, there was a ringing or stars going, flash bulbs. But I was still able to play. That's what kind of frightening. That's what's kind of frightening about the concussion thing. It's the ones that seem minor that do the damage because you're able to keep going. And still today, there's probably guys that have them and they're not going out.
Yeah.
I think
I will say this. I've noticed on practice film footage this year that a lot of the teams have these guys wearing not only those larger helmets, but they have like exterior padding on the helmets now. Have you noticed that?
It's the linemen. It's the defensive linemen. It's certain players, certain positions that are wearing them.
Yeah, I think Troy Polamalu said getting your bell rung, right, is what they call it.
Getting your bell rung, yeah.
It happened like at least once every game, I think is what he said, or something along those lines. So
I mean, when I played in high school, it probably happened at least, every other game.
Right.
So it's you just back then people were, it's only in recent history where people are teaching you not to, used to be taught to lead with your head.
Sure.
Well, I remember when I was in high school, I got one playing soccer. Apparently, I was not apparently. I was the goalkeeper, And apparently I made a great save, which of course I don't remember, and I took a kick to the head.
Yeah.
And it was only noticed, and I think I played about 10 more minutes till halftime, and it was my coach noticed something funny because I kept asking him who we were playing against because I couldn't remember what team we were playing against. And so eventually they carted me off, but there was no protocol. There was no, wow, that kid took a shot, and I wasn't wearing a helmet or anything. This was whatever, 40 years ago. But if I hadn't, been inquisitive and forgetful about where we were because we weren't at home or who we were playing, it might have never been noticed. And
yeah.
So they ended up
I noticed it a number of
hospital
times. People acting weird, and
right.
Yeah, I had one guy turn to me once and say, "Are we on offense or defense?" I go, "Well, you only play offense, so are you okay?"
Well, my point is there was no precautions taken. There was no thought to, oh, this guy just took a shot. Let me make sure he's okay. It was only
that Dr. Vinny Bombats comes over, shines a light in your eye, and goes, "You're okay."
Yeah, there was no doctor on the side.
Tuck it up, get back in there.
It was
Dr.
only if you
Cuckoo Pants.
exhibited some sort of symptoms, which fortunately my coach recognized because he was a good coach.
Sure.
And so they missed the second half of the game and took me to the hospital and all that. And to this day, I can remember there were 3 questions the doctor asked me. The third one, the answer was George Brett, and that's all I remember. I don't remember the other 2 questions. Don't remember the last 10, 15 minutes of the first half. Don't remember the great save I made.
What's your name? What's your birthday? And who is your celebrity crush?
No, it was. Well, I don't know. It might have been. How much are you going to charge on OnlyFans when you grow up? George Brett. That was the answer I gave. Maybe that wasn't.
And now question. Everybody knows Pete's security question.
I got to change my password.
Oh, that's great.
But so who knows how many actual concussions we all got?
Yeah,
those of us
scary.
Who, in plants or even just in life.
Yeah,
falling down, banging your head, or whatever,
absolutely.
Or when you're pulling on something and it suddenly gives way and you go backwards and slam your head. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Scary to think.
I just figuratively slam my head against the wall now.
Yeah, I usually do it in the front now.
Yeah, I don't really do it anymore unless I have a big giant helmet on.
Right. Exactly. All right. I think we could. I think that about wraps up football. What do you think?
Football. We got anything else? I hope not.
Well, just one thing I want to bring up on basketball.
No.
And I think both of you can weigh in on this. You seen the latest from the Nets camp?
Supposedly the Celtics, the Nets wanted Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown for KD.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, yeah, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, Durant, obviously, issues the ultimatum to Jose, saying that if he's not traded, he wants Sean Marks and Steve Nash out.
But wasn't Steve Nash his chosen coach?
I don't know.
I don't.
Yes,
think
it was.
Here's what
Harden.
I think.
It was Harden's and his.
I think.
Well, Nash was there before Harden came.
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah. I think KD and Kyrie said.
Kyrie. That's what I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. We want a coach who's going to do this, who's going to do that, who's going to let us do this and that. They laid out what they wanted. I don't know if they had a specific name. And
Steve
the Nets said
did not come out of nowhere.
No, but the Nets, thinking from a PR perspective, and to make that, how about Steve Nash?
How about somebody who never played defense in his entire life? Perfect.
Right. Never coached at this level before.
See what they should have done.
We want a Mike D'Antoni, but with better name recognition.
Right. And they went, yeah, that'll work as long as he stays out of our way. And I think that's what happened.
Steve Nash.
I don't think they went, we want Steve Nash or we're not signing.
I remember them actually. I remember hearing or putting 2 and 2 together that was their choice, the player's choice. Kyrie and KD.
I didn't think it was, but maybe.
I think who does KD want?
I think it might have been a suggestion from the ownership or management, and then once they were on board with it, then they might have talked it up a little bit, even perhaps in quiet circles. But right. I could be wrong.
So if Sean Marks and Steve Nash are gone, KD and Kyrie will stay.
And KD will be the GM, and Kyrie will be the
That's
head
what I was
coach.
going to say.
Right.
Yeah, player coach.
Yeah.
Well, Kyrie's already staying, right? I mean, they already gave him his contract.
Yeah.
I mean,
might as well
unless they
make him.
trade him. I mean,
They could trade him. Yeah, of course. Right.
I mean, there's only one team that wants him, but the Nets are asking for too much for both Kyrie and
right.
KD. I mean, KD's understandable. Kyrie, I would make a deal to get rid of him.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if KD does move, Kyrie's going to want it too.
Well, I don't think they actually want to go together. I think Kyrie wants to go to the Lakers. The Lakers want Kyrie. They're the only team that really wants him, but they just can't pull the trigger on it.
Sure, they could send Carmelo back.
Well, here's some of the look. Carmelo might end up back on the Knicks. There is chatter of a major unloading of the Knicks for KD, plus draft picks, which the Knicks have, and a bunch of other things. I don't think it's dead yet, but it sounds like the Celtics are KD's preferred location. The Celtics in what form, I don't know. You'd have to ask Kevin Durant.
Yeah, the Knicks set themselves up in their draft. We were wondering what the hell they were doing, but don't they have 3 top 20 picks or something outrageous like that?
The Knicks are another mess because they're unwilling to give up Derrick Rose as part of the deal for Donovan Mitchell. I'm like, we're talking about Derrick Rose now, right?
That makes no sense, right?
Yeah. So, look, if the Knicks could get Kevin Durant, as much as I'm not a big fan of his personally, he's arguably the best player in the NBA. Whatever you want. I mean, you got to put a team on the court. So the thought is that they could get, it's going to be Durant and maybe Jalen Brunson and a couple other guys that they're able to actually keep there, like Mitchell Robinson, who they just recently signed, and then you backfill with a Carmelo and whoever else you can get on a league veteran minimum. I don't know if that wins you a championship, but it certainly is better than what they're looking at now.
Would you rather keep a bunch of stuff though and get Donovan Mitchell?
I don't think the Knicks are going to get Donovan Mitchell. No. Look, if the Knicks would still have to give up something for Donovan Mitchell, and the problem is that what they're asked, what's his name, overrated player from the Celtics, who's now the Utah Jazz general manager, Danny Ainge. What Danny Ainge is looking for Donovan Mitchell is excessive. So it's kind of what he was able to get for Rudy Gobert is changing the entire landscape of the league right now. And so unless he gets a windfall, like basically all of the Knicks and all their draft picks for Donovan Mitchell.
The Knicks could just roll out Donovan Mitchell as one guy.
Well, it's going to be Donovan Mitchell and Mitchell Robinson, who they overpaid for a couple more years, and Jalen Brunson. And who knows who else? There's a couple draft picks that I forgot. Kevin Knox, isn't he still available? They're asking for everything. It's unbelievable because look what they got for Gobert.
How old is Donovan Mitchell though?
Donovan Mitchell's 25,
6.
Yes, your window. I think the window is really limited with KD.
True.
If you trade for KD, you got what?
The window's
legitimately open. Right, but if you trade
right now, they're not standing near the window. With Donovan Mitchell, the windows gets open.
Right,
there is a window.
But
next to the window. With KD, the window's open. Yeah.
It's open, but for how long? And can you considering? Again, maybe the Nets are not going to ask for the world out of desperation.
They just asked for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. The Knicks don't have a Jason Brown and a Jason Tatum.
Right. So if you're going to have to give up a lot,
they don't even have a Marcus
KD,
Smart.
They
may be able to give up Channing Tatum.
But can you rebuild fast enough to give KD a chance on the Knicks to do something? I really only have a few more years with him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, the window's open, but not as long.
I don't know. KD demanded a trade. I don't think Kevin Durant is dumb enough to not know where he wanted to go. Has it always been the Celtics? Why are we playing this game?
Right. You're right. So, anyway, well, we'll see what happens with that.
I think that the opportunity to get Donovan Mitchell is dwindling. I think he's going to stay in Utah. Unless somebody offers the world for him. And I think what Donovan Mitchell will not be dealt until after Kevin Durant is either moves, which I think he will. I think it's very slim that Kevin Durant stays with the Nets. I think it's less than 5%.
Gotcha. No, we'll see. We'll see how this all plays out. Obviously, the coming weeks are going to be interesting. So,
but what do you think the Nets should realistically ask? I mean, all right. So let's say the Nets were able to get Jason Tatum for Kevin Durant, and maybe a draft pick or something. I don't know. If I'm the Nets, I'm taking it. No, I don't think. No, Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown maybe is a better player than Jason Tatum. I know that's controversial. If I have Kevin Durant coming to my team, I'd rather pair him with a Jaylen Brown than a Jason Tatum. So if I'm the Celtics, I'm going to look at it and go, okay, yes, Jason Tatum's a better overall player maybe than Jaylen Brown by some. Jaylen Brown was their best player in the playoffs. More consistent, a better defender, and probably pairs better with Kevin Durant. So if you could package something and then you have those two as a basis, and hopefully you're able to keep a Marcus Smart, that makes the Celtics a better team. It also gives the Nets something that I don't think they're going to get from anybody else. Who else has anything of worth to offer the Nets for Kevin Durant? I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it.
Yeah, not unless somebody's looking to go, all right, we're not. Well, I mean, Utah is the only other right? Utah.
What about Donovan Mitchell?
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. Look at their moves. They're like,
I don't think it's apples to apples, and I don't think Utah has as much draft capital. Now, maybe it's a three-way trade. I don't know. Maybe the Knicks are involved and they get some. Maybe they get more draft picks. I don't know what the reality is. Yeah. I don't see. And then Kevin Durant's in Utah with who? No one. So I don't think Kevin Durant. I mean, I don't think he's opposed to playing for the Jazz necessarily, but I don't think he wants to go with a limited window, as we all agree with, to a team where it's just him.
Right.
You know, if it's going to be just you and an occasional Kyrie, stay in Brooklyn. Well, better restaurants,
Yeah. I mean, the other thing about the Nets is, obviously we're talking about them winning now, right? Because it's KD and it's Kyrie.
We're talking about all of these teams winning now.
But if KD's going to go, they're probably not thrilled that Kyrie's going to stay. Right? So
I think they re-signed Kyrie. Remember, Kyrie took his player option.
Yeah.
He opted in because he knew he would never get it on the open market. So he played his cards to make sure he gets paid. Smart move on Kyrie's behalf. At least we know he wasn't thinking like a flat earther for that one. I think the Nets are still willing to trade Kyrie, but somebody's got to take on that contract. And who knows all the other things that go along with Kyrie. So there's not a lot of capital left on a lot of these teams.
But my point is maybe the trade for KD doesn't involve another superstar.
It would have to involve a lot of draft picks.
Yes. Maybe the Nets say, okay, this isn't working. We have a nice base. We're stuck with Kyrie. Let's build again. Let's start the process again. We've got one of the best players in the league. We can get a bunch of stuff that we can build on. And then we're going to bring in a superstar with free agency or whatever. They might be at that point. They might be at the point where it's not fire sale, but they're like, maybe we don't try and win right away. I want to get rid of. I'm going to check what Kyrie's.
I don't think they're at that point at all. I think the fact that there's discussions and that the Nets asked for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum tells me that the Nets know what they have and they're not. They realize that there's no other team that has enough draft capital and a player for the talents and the contract of Kevin Durant.
They might be at that point if they can get a ridiculous deal like that no one's going to make. Right. If we can do that, then we're in it right now. If we can't, we're not going to fire sale blow it up, but we're going to start over. Kyrie's only around next year, and then he's a free agent.
Here's the other thing that I've heard, and this would just be an excellent ending to the story, is that there is a 3-team trade out there that includes Draymond Green, who's going to ask for a max contract, leaving Golden State, and Kevin Durant winding up back in
going
Golden
back.
State.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah, I read that. Great. Kyrie and Draymond together. Unless Draymond goes somewhere else.
No, he would wind up. I don't think Kyrie's. I think once the Durant trade happens, I think Kyrie will wind up in LA with LeBron. Some way, shape, or form, he will wind up there.
Does that mean the Nets are going to get Westbrook?
Maybe.
And again, think of what I just said. If you trade Kyrie, if you trade KD for a bunch of other stuff, and then you bring in Westbrook for Kyrie, okay, Westbrook is who he is, and he's going to put
he's
people
no Kyrie anymore.
No, but he's going to put people in the seats. You're not thinking of him, as the main piece of your build. You're going to build, on with him there. I don't know. They might just be willing to say, this didn't work. Let's start building again.
Yeah.
Which would be too bad, but obviously, unless if there's no more vaccine stuff, we have to see what happens with monkeypox or what the next pox that comes along is. If Kyrie's going to play, and
I think they're working on one now where limbs start falling off.
Yeah, well, if Kyrie's going to play and maybe miss a few games here for his sister's birthday, or if his craziness is going to be minimized, great, put him out on the court. He's a great player. But if the vaccine thing is going to be another issue, then he could end up somewhere else.
KD's got to be careful too, because the Nets might get the best offer for him from a team that he doesn't want to go to, because the Nets have been in discussions with, obviously, Boston, with Phoenix. I think Phoenix is off the table because Phoenix doesn't want to unload everybody. And Miami, again, Miami's great, but if you have to get rid of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, then what good is that? The Raptors always have a bunch of trade capital and things going. So and now the latest has been the Celtics. It could come down to a team that, who knows who they are, that just has 6 players to get rid of and 12 draft picks, and says, "Hey, we're gonna take Kevin Durant. Here's the trade."
Now, how much control over where he goes does Kevin Durant have?
I don't think he has any control. I mean, legally.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
What are contracts are? I think the Nets are actually, look, the Nets have obviously listened to him, and they're trying to make a trade. They're just, at the end of the day, Danny Ainge has changed the league by getting what he did for Rudy Gobert. And I still don't understand why the Timberwolves did what they did. Why they need a Rudy Gobert when they have the players that they have is kind of bizarre to me. Nothing against Rudy Gobert. I think he's a good player, but they already have an all-star center on their team. I don't really understand what this does for them and why they gave up so much to get him. But there's not enough capital to make this trade happen. There's just not enough capital without the teams that are competitive and on the cusp of a championship giving away too much, getting Kevin Durant back in exchange, but maybe not having enough of a team around him to compete for a championship.
Yeah, so it's really up to the Nets.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no...
It's up to the Nets if they want to give in and accepting less than what they believe they deserve for Kevin Durant.
Yeah, he doesn't have any say about where he goes.
Yeah. Well, again,
and listen, he's got 4 more years left. So anybody who's going to trade for him again, but that's like anything. You're not trading for the last 2 years of the contract. You're trading for the first 2 or the first 3.
And here's the other thing: the fact that this latest news has come out that John mentioned with Kevin Durant, maybe he realizes that he might have to stay. So I think that's what the ultimatum is about. If he's leaving, who cares who the general manager and coach is?
Right.
So
we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see how it all plays out. It's going to be an interesting next few weeks in the NBA.
I think it's gonna take a while.
Well, a few weeks could be longer. I didn't mean like 3 weeks. Could be, before the season starts. It's going to be interesting. So
when's the trade deadline in the NBA?
All right. I got one thing in hockey, and it's just a funny story, really quick. The Athletic put out an article yesterday that I read. It says, is the NHL rigged in favor of your team or against it? A 32-team investigation. Okay. And it went through, it listed every single team, and it gave reasons why they're either rigged against your team, the NHL's rigged against your team, or for your team. Long story short, I'm just cutting right to the chase. According to The Athletic and whoever wrote this article, the league is rigged against every single team except for the Penguins.
That seems reasonable.
According to this article, the league is rigged against every single team except for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Who wrote
now,
this
are they
article?
rigged
Kyrie
for
Irving?
the Penguins? Or just not against the Penguins?
Sean McIndoe. Or McIndoe. Yeah, Sean McIndoe.
For what?
He's
what
been
publication?
The Athletic. He's been a senior NHL writer for The Athletic since 2018. He launched Down Goes Brown in 2008 and has been writing about hockey ever since, with stops including Grantland, Sportsnet, and Vice Sports. His book, The Down Goes Brown History of the NHL, is available in bookstores now. So,
well, yeah. Plug
So there
for
you go.
somebody who thinks that the Pittsburgh Penguins have the league by the balls.
That's pretty much.
I don't think the Pittsburgh Penguins won the Stanley Cup last year.
No, they didn't. So that's why this is a little suspect. So,
well, like I said, was it rigged for the Penguins or just not against them?
well, no, it says rigged for. So I'll just read. I'll read.
How does the NFL rig? I don't understand
NHL.
what that
What
means.
is rigged against?
NHL.
What
Well,
does
I'll
rigged
read-
against the team mean?
I'll read you.
Do they have the best Zamboni in hockey or
Here
something?
you go. I'll read you the Avalanche and the 3 local teams in New York. What he said. I'm not going to read all 32.
I don't need to hear about the.
Well, no, right. Well, they finally got the Stanley Cup they deserved for a few years now, but it's only because a few breaks actually went their way, and or the NHL got tired of throwing every trick in the book at them to keep them from winning. Whether it's an awful lottery luck, key players getting suspended by the commissioner himself, goalies being forced to face shots with no mask, or the dumbest offside review in recent playoff history, it's been one thing after another for the Avalanche for years. This season, we finally found out what happens when luck evens out just a little bit. Verdict: the league is rigged against you.
I didn't know they made somebody play without a face mask.
Right?
Is this guy stable?
I don't know. The New Jersey Devils, the only team to ever have
Maybe he played without a face mask.
Maybe he did. The league, they're the only team to ever have one of those. This is the Devils, by the way. They're the only team to ever have one of those backdiving contracts rejected by the league, and then they were fined and stripped of draft picks for doing the same thing every other team was doing back then. Sure, they eventually got one of those picks back because even the NHL couldn't stand by this level of blatant bias. But the franchise's history proves that everyone from Wayne Gretzky to Don Koharski is out to get them. So it makes sense that Gary Bettman is too. What did they ever do to him? Okay, sure. But besides that, the league is rigged against you.
Well,
I've been saying
I
that
do
for
agree
years.
with the Devils
Right.
because they basically created an entire set of rules so that the Devils, back in their heyday, could not play the brand of hockey that won them Stanley Cup championships.
Sure. Right.
So, yes, I agree with that.
Right. Here's the Islanders. There might not be a team that has had a rougher few decades than the Islanders. Maybe that has something to do with the league's apparent policy of letting anyone off the street buy this team, whether or not they have any actual money. When the guy who randomly puts the backup goalie in charge of the roster is considered the good owner, you know the league is too busy fawning over their precious Rangers to pay any attention to a team that can win more than one Stanley Cup every 8 decades. All right.
But we don't win one every 8 decades. We win 4 in 1 decade and never win again.
Right.
Let's
The league
get it
is rigged
straight.
against you. And then here's the Rangers. Even though he said what he said, the precious Rangers, right? He said that. Here's what he says about the Rangers. The Rangers went 65 years without having the first overall pick in a draft. And the only way they won the top choice was in a fake lottery where the NHL didn't know it was them. The league lets Tom Wilson do whatever he wants to do to Rangers players and then finds them when they tweet about it. Meanwhile, anyone from New York breaks Mario Lemieux's wrist even one measly time, and suddenly it's a federal case. The league is rigged against you.
Yeah.
Right? And then what he said about the Penguins: enjoy Connor Bedard and another 2 decades of getting to watch a generational franchise player win Stanley Cups, so you don't tank or fake like you're moving to Kansas City again, you frauds. The league is rigged for you.
Well, Pittsburgh deserves something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's face it, they have been a good franchise for a very, very long time. And to his point, they've had 3 of maybe the top 5 players in the NHL on their team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
So, anyway,
the Edmonton Oilers had 3 of the top players in 1 year. So I don't know. I get it. I don't follow hockey enough to understand all. It's
fodder, right? It's a funny article, but I mean, basically, he's saying that the league is rigged against the entire NHL except for the Penguins.
Yes,
so,
some more than others.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. So I think that should. Anything else? Anybody got anything else?
I want to talk about the backup goalie for the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, we could do that. Go for it.
No.
Just kidding. All right.
I would talk about that, but I'm rigged against Dallas.
You're rigged against the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Oddly enough, I wasn't when they were the North Stars.
Right.
Up in Minnesota.
I just think the NHL is rigged against all teams that are named after natural disasters.
There you go.
And weather occurrences.
This is true. There you go. All right. On that note, we will wrap the show up for today. We want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And of course, all of our shows are available on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with a video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night around 7:30 Eastern Time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you'll never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Keep watching baseball and get ready for some preseason football. And we'll talk to you next week, folks, when we do the fun show. Take care. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.